Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to do populations and sampling. Populations and sampling. Now, very first thing that you need to know is what's the difference between population and a sample. So listen up, population is everybody. If I'm doing a survey on study habits of 6-year students in Ireland, the population is all 6-year students in Ireland. The sample that I might use would be a class, okay? Now, straight away, everybody's going, okay, what if that's a higher level class? That would not represent the whole country. So, that's true. If you went to a private school, the highest top class, full of future doctors, that would be a bias sample. Because it does not represent population. Okay, so we need to find ways around this, and there's different sampling methods for us to do that. Before we just move on to sampling methods, census. So census is when they do a sample of the whole population. So it's of the whole country. Our sample is the whole country, it's representing the whole population. Normally when we want to find out about population, we get a sample. The census is when we want to find out about population, we ask the whole population. That's all you need to know there. Now, these are explained really simply, and this is to avoid getting any bias. And when you're getting a sample, very first thing, you want it over 30 for it to be accurate. But we're dealing with different ways of sampling. Simple, random sample. Okay, that's the first type. Now this is on page 375 in your book. As they say, sample size n is called a simple random sample if every possible sample size n has an equal chance of being selected. Okay, this is really as simple as if we're doing it in school and I want to find people who think Mr. O'Sullivan is doing a good job in maths or as a teacher or as a nice person, put all the names into a hat and I take out 30 names. That's a simple random sample. Number 2, stratified sampling. Now, as the book describes it, they go through the initial stuff, but they say, you see halfway through, a stratified sampling is used when the population can be split into separate groups or strata that are quite different from each other. Okay? So if I'm looking to do, so if we just go with this school context again, okay, so I would do year groups. So I want to get a sample of 30 people. Year groups, higher level students, lower level ordinary level students, and people who play sports, people who don't play sports, if we're looking for study habits. Okay, so let's say if we get 10 groups there in total, or we get even 15 groups, we get 2 from each group, okay, or we get groups of like whatever, there might be 30 in each group, I would choose 2 from each group. That's stratified sampling. Systematic. A sample which is obtained by choosing items at regular intervals from an unordered list is called systematic. Yes, this is an awful way of doing it. So if you wish to choose 20 students from 200 students, it could be every 10th student on the register. Okay, that's systematic. There's a system in it. So if I have you sitting in class and I wanted to get a sample of 5 people and there's 30 in the class, I would do every 6th person and that'd be my sample. That can lead to bias. The basic thing that you need to know here is every single one of these can lead to bias. Yeah, they can be non-representative of the population. So our sample mightn't be representative, but it's about limiting the bias and making it as representative as you possibly can. Okay, Quota sampling is widely used in market research and in opinion polls. Okay, that's grand. First, the population is divided into groups in terms of age, general education level, social class. The interviewer is then told how many people to interview in each of these groups, but the interviewer makes the choice of exactly who it is. There is the difference. Quota sampling and stratified are fairly much the exact same. The only difference here is interviewer chooses, and stratified they don't. So let's say that in this scenario here, I've got it set up and we go year groups, higher levels, sports, all that. I would do randomly for stratified, I would choose for a quota. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. Cluster sampling. Now, as your book says, the possible procedure is collect a cluster, region at random. Select a member of the cluster or a random sample of members in each cluster. Okay, so if the population is widely spread, simple random sampling would be very difficult and it's better to divide into clusters. The smaller cluster, the better. Okay, this once again is extremely similar to stratified, and I'll send you on something like that. Opinion polls are clusters. So let's say we would go Kerry Southwest, Kerry North, Kerry East, and then we do this for all the things, and we're getting a certain amount of people from each one at random. Okay, convenience. This is the lazy one. Convenience is if I'm doing a survey on obesity in school, I just ask the 20 first people who come to school. Probably least likely to be obese because they're the first coming to the school in the morning, or probably come for training, so they're obviously healthy. Okay, that's the difference in each one of those. I'm going to send you on a video as well that will explain in a bit more detail cluster, stratified, and quota. Okay, they do animation, so it'll be better that way. That's all you need to know. All I want you to do is go through exercise 10.3. As usual, you do your 40 minutes and then we're happy with that. Okay? Any questions, email on as usual. This is a great topic first and foremost because it's well explained in the book. Well explained for once.